In this English lesson, you're going to learn the difference between who and whom and how to use them. If you don't know me very well, hello, I'm Teacher Prix, and I'm going to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. This video is aimed at pre-intermediate and intermediate students because, guys, if you want to go from stuck to speaking as fast as you can, you will have to include grammar. Even after you advance your English level, you will still need to study grammar points so that you can keep on brushing up on your ability to speak and understand people anywhere, anytime. So at the end of this lesson, post one example in the comments. But now, who? That is a question word and can be used as a subject or object. It refers to people. So this is a very basic concept. When I use who, I'm talking about people, not things, not places, people. Now, the question word who can be used as a subject or as an object, and I will explain this this definition here in this lesson. So take a look at the screen. Who took my jacket? Now, I will explain this kind of question. It's a question where we don't use the auxiliary verb did or do or does. Stay with me until the end. But in this case, for example, who is working as a subject. And in this case, we typically eliminate the auxiliary verb. So I can't say who did take your jacket because I don't know who. So who is the subject? So in this case, bye-bye did, and I conjugate the verb in the past if the question is in the past, and there you go. So who took my jacket? This is the kind of question you will always use who, okay? Look at the other example. Who did you meet? So here in this case, who is working as an object. It's receiving the action. Because if you think about it, who did you meet? You meet who? Okay, I want to know. Who did you meet? So you is the subject, is doing the action. So in this case, I also use who, but here I need to go with the formal question style. Do, did, does, because I have a subject. In this case is you. Who did your sister call? Your sister. She is the subject. She did the action. Okay? And in this case, who is receiving? Because I want to know who you met. So in this case, who is receiving the action? Meeting. The action is to meet. Okay? Another example here. Who do you call when you are in trouble? And you can let me know in the comments. Who do you call? So you, that's the subject. Who do you call? So who here is working as an object because it is receiving information. The answer that will, you will change with who will be the person receiving the action, the person you call. So we will replace who with the name of the person or the word describing the person you call. So who do you call when you are in trouble? I call my sister. That's who, my sister. And my sister is receiving the call. I call her. Okay? Remember the object pronouns? Me, you, it's the same. Her, him, us, them. Okay? Who's your favorite singer? Let me know in the comments, but let's keep rolling. Questions without auxiliary verbs. And hey, by the way, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, questions without auxiliary verbs. When who becomes the subject. And this also happens to what. Okay, it's very common. What happened? What happened? Something happened. Okay, what? What happened? I don't have a subject. So what becomes the subject? So whenever who becomes the subject, there's no did, there's no do because you don't have one. Because if we go back to the explanation of a question formation, we have the auxiliary, let's think of simple past. We have the auxiliary verb did, then we have the subject. I like to call it the P, the person, okay? So who did you call? So this is the typical question. And when we don't know the subject, when the subject is invisible, you want to discover the subject. That's when you eliminate do, did, or does. Who invited you to the party? Who? Who invited? Who invited you? to the party? Oh, my sister invited me to the party. Oh, my sister. Okay. Who did you invite? Now look at the difference. Very similar questions, but different meanings. Who did you invite to the party? So I know you did the action. I just want to know who received the action. See? That's a very important difference. So I want to know who received the action. In this case, the invitation. Who received the invitation? So you see, who received the invitation? I don't know. So I eliminate did because I don't have a subject. Oh, my sister received the invitation. So that is a very important situation when you're going to eliminate do or did. Okay, and I have a few more examples here. So when that happens, guys, you will conjugate the verb, the main verb, as if it were an affirmative or negative sentence. Okay, look at the examples. Who likes the idea? Who needs a new phone? Me, I need a new phone. So who needs a new phone? I don't know who. I don't know the person who does the action. Someone needs a phone. I don't know the person who needs a phone. Therefore, if I ask a question with who to discover the person who needs a phone, this question changes. I will use who, then the main verb. And I will conjugate this main verb in the present, in the past, in the future. I will show you an example in the future. Who wants to be a millionaire? I think this was the name of a movie or a yeah, it was a movie, right? Or a game? I don't remember. Who broke my favorite mug? Who did it? Who broke my favorite mug? I'm broken. My heart's broken. Another example. Who will take out the trash? Oh, but Priscilla, you said we don't use auxiliary verbs. Now, will, would, and other modal verbs are typically used in all sentences, okay? Because alone, they do nothing. And in this case, it's not that if alone they do nothing, but in question formation, they are always present. We cannot eliminate them, okay? Because if I only put who take out, there's no time. I could imagine simple present, but I would have to change. Who takes out the trash? So I need to show you this is future. So who will? Again, I don't have a subject. I don't have a P. Who will take out the trash? Now, if I ask a typical question, who will you call tonight? Just an example, okay? Who will you visit on Christmas? So here I'm using who, then I'm using will, but then I have a P, a subject. Who will you visit on Christmas? But here, who will take out the trash? I don't know. Who let the dogs out? You know? Who let the dogs out? Oh, man. Who has been texting you all morning? Present perfect continuous. So this happens in any conjugation, okay? Who can help me? Nobody? Who can help me with my phone? Can I ask this question? I can. It's possible. Should you? That's a different question, especially with modal verbs. I would just simply say, can anybody help me? That would be more common in conversations, okay? Make sure to subscribe to my channel. You know, I appreciate you becoming part of this beautiful community. And if you're interested, I have an amazing study plan cycle that will help you combine grammar and speaking and understand how to have an efficient study plan that will help you unlock your fluency. But now, whom? Oh, I feel so serious when I use whom. I feel so polished when I use whom. You know, to whom is this video? This video is to you. Now, whom is also you know, it's very similar to who, okay, you will see, but it is a little formal, I'm being nice here, okay, guys, it's formal, watch out. And it's an option to who as an object, not typically a subject, okay? Who did you call? Whom did you call? Possible? Possible. Should you? No. Don't. Please don't go. Okay? Now, which one should you use? Take a look. If who or whom. Okay? If whom or who is a subject, use who. So between who and whom, if they are a subject, you should use who. How do I know it's a subject? This way. Look. Who likes the idea? I like the idea. Who likes the idea? She likes the idea. There's no other person in the question. So you use who. Who needs my help? Who joined my academy when I opened registration? You know? And whom is when it's receiving, and whom is when the person is receiving, and whom it means when it's receiving the action, okay? I will show you the examples. Whom should I call? Priscilla. But I see the pronoun I call. Isn't it better to use who? Yes, it is better. But in terms of grammar, whenever the word whom is working as an object, what does it mean to work as an object? Receiving, not doing, okay? Who do you call? I call. So who is receiving, okay? So in this case, it would be an object. In terms of grammar, I use whom. Is it a good idea? No. Okay, so whenever whom is receiving, then we should use whom. That is in theory, because if we think, oh, but that means that we should always use whom. If we look at the technical aspect, that's why I'm speaking a little bit more slowly and may sound a little confusing to you. But in terms of grammar, if I only analyze grammar, in many questions, who would be working as someone receiving the action in the question, okay? So be careful with that. So this is in theory, okay? Whom, if whom or who is an object, then it's receiving the action, use whom. If whom is the subject, then use who, which means that I could only safely use who in questions if I don't have a subject, because then who becomes the subject. So that's in theory. But in practice, that's not what happens. And even in academic writing, who will be perfectly acceptable, okay? There's a huge debate among whom and whose. I wanted to bring this lesson because oftentimes I get this question, oh, but I saw whom. It's possible, and you will see it, but it is formal, okay? And unless you're writing, let's say you're a lawyer and you're writing a very important legal document, then whom may be appropriate, okay? Yes, it may be appropriate. You are a judge, okay? You are a history professor at Harvard, and it may be interesting to use whom. But depending on the question, if it's a simple question, I would stick to who, okay? And this is the point I'm going to make, and I will explain a little more. But before I do that, this is a situation when students typically use whom. Well, native speakers typically use whom, and I think it's a good idea, but be careful so that you don't sound strange, because the construction, the formation of sentences with whom, they tend to look a little awkward, a little funny. Whom do you call? I call my sister. Whom? The object. But it doesn't work, okay? We use who. Now, in this case, when following a preposition, whom is the preferred choice? For whom is this lesson intended? Okay? Now, does this sound natural? Not much, okay? I would change the sentence. I would speak in another way so that I don't sound too formal. But it is the right way to do it. In terms of grammar, if I'm being too technical, take a look at the other explanation. Another example, excuse me. To whom were you talking? In English, this is also a debate, okay? Some teachers agree, some teachers disagree. So I feel like, whatever floats your boat, okay? I'm not American. I didn't create the language, so Typically, in terms of grammar, we don't end sentences with prepositions. Typically, okay? We should avoid as much as possible to finish sentences with a preposition. And this is where whom comes in handy. Because if I say, who are you talking to? which is good. Mwah! If I analyze grammar, it's wrong, okay? However, if I just go to an American a colleague at work and I ask him, hey, to whom you were talking? To whom were you talking? He is gonna be a little shocked. To whom I was talking? Seriously? What book are you studying, man? You know, that's typical. That could be a reaction, okay? It's a possible reaction because it sounds more formal. And this is not the everyday conversation. And when I say formal, I'm not just talking about Americans, okay, guys? I'm talking about Australians. I'm talking about British. Even though the British do have a more polished English, they are not going to use whom that frequently, okay? Of course, it all depends on the context. Oh, Priscilla, I watched a TV show, you know, a legal TV show, and there was one moment where I saw someone using whom, but they were speaking in front of a judge, presenting evidence to support their case. In that case, then yes, you may hear, okay? Does that make sense? Another example here, that's the boy with whom I studied. Mwah, beautiful, but nobody talks like that. Another option would be, that's the boy whom I studied with. Again, I'm adding in preposition. I shouldn't. But these are both possible options. But would I use whom? No. Okay? It's important that you understand that whom exists. And it's also important to understand that it's formal. And in some cases, it'll make the sentence sound too strange. Okay? So should you use it? Whom do you love? If we think about it, whom is the correct one and not who. But I will tell you, use who. Who do you love? Teacher Prix. Who do you love? Teacher Prix. Who do you love? Teacher Prix. So despite being technically correct, it would still be wise and better to use who in this case, okay? So keep in mind that due to the perceived formality of whom, some questions and sentences sound strange, okay, to most people. So at the end of the day, it's not, oh, I learned this advanced lesson, yay, okay? My purpose here is to raise your awareness because intermediate students who study alone and don't have any guidance, they tend to focus on studying this weird lessons sometimes. Oh, I want to polish my English. Yeah, go for it. There's always a place and time for certain lessons. And I wanted to clarify this so the next time you talk to someone and you listen to whom, pay attention to the context, to the level of formality, to the type of person you're talking to, okay? And who is perfectly good, perfectly normal. Use it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Subscribe to my channel, share this video with a friend, but other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!